Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic back again, 1 week removed from AEW and New Japan's Forbidden Door, and there's little to no rest because tonight we've just had Money in the Bank 2022 from those chaps at the WWE. Lots to dissect tonight, as there always is from Money in the Bank events, especially from those two Money in the Bank ladder matches, the men's and the women's ladder matches as well, plus many other bouts to talk about too. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it. This is what happened at WWE Money in the Bank 2022. Let's go. The opening match of the show is the women's Money in the Bank ladder match featuring Becky Lynch, Asuka, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Lacey Evans, Shotzi, and Alexa Bliss. Everybody goes for ladders early on, leaving Becky and Asuka, the two big rivals, to go after each other in the ring. After that, the first big featured star of the match is Raquel Rodriguez with an early show of power, who lifts a ladder with both Becky and Liv draped on it, but then doesn't really do anything with it. But a few moments later, she does nail a double suplex on both of them onto a ladder. Later on, Shotzi tries to run up a ladder prop diagonally in the corner and slips quite clearly in the middle of the spot. It's not an ideal start to the match. Everybody then ends up piled up on this ladder in the corner, and Becky Lynch drops a big leg onto all of them. Later on, a few superstars climb one ladder, and Liv Morgan hits a nice sunset bomb on Lacey Evans off the ladder down to the canvas below. Shotzi gets Bliss in the electric chair position and kind of backs her into the ladder, and the ladder buckles a bit, and again, it's another slightly sloppy spot in this match. Shotzi makes up for this with a big senton off the top, but Becky Lynch moves below, and Shotzi clips the ladder on the way down on the floor, possibly cutting open the back of her head, maybe. Later on, we see that she's got blood on her face, but her face doesn't seem to be busted open, so maybe the blood, maybe she got it on her hands or something. It's a strange one, and hopefully she's okay. Asuka ends up on a ladder bridge on the outside. Becky scales another nearby ladder and hits a leg drop off it onto Asuka, but the bridge doesn't break, and they both just roll to the floor. Possibly a nasty bump for both there. Becky knocks everybody down later on and is alone in the ring. She climbs a ladder seemingly to victory, but she's stopped by Liv Morgan on a parallel smaller ladder. Becky pushes Liv's ladder, but then Liv does a spot that I remember Christian doing at one point, where she rebounds back off the top rope very nimbly, kicking off with one foot. On the way back, she knees Becky in the face. Becky falls, and Liv Morgan is all alone. Liv climbs to the top, snatches the briefcase, and Liv Morgan is Ms. Money in the Bank. She celebrates, everybody's happy for her, while Becky Lynch has an absolute breakdown on the outside. Honestly, there were points in this match that were really ragged. I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it is to do a multi-person ladder match, obviously. But yeah, there were some ambitious spots here that didn't quite work. The most important thing for me, though, is that ending spot with Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch did work 100%. So at least that came off. Next up, we have the United States title match with the champion Theory defending against Bobby Lashley. Theory stalls early on, but eventually gets caught with a big choke slam. Lashley goes for the spear early, but Theory bails out of the ring. Theory leaps off the apron at Bobby on the outside, but Lashley catches him and then unfortunately drops him. But then they carry on with the spot. He scoops him up and runs Theory into the ring post. Back in the ring, Lashley goes for another spear attempt, but this time Theory fakes an injury and falls back on the canvas to avoid it. Theory then takes control of a large portion of the match, grinding Lashley down with heelish tactics, but only able to get a 1 count at various different points in the match. There's a long rest hold, but Lashley finally fires up, catching Theory in midair for a Dominator, but it only gets 2. Theory goes for A-Town down, but Lashley reverses it with the Cradle like he did on Raw, but this time Theory kicks out at 2, and then Theory hits Lashley with his own signature move, the Spear. But Theory doesn't go for the cover, instead he goes for his own finisher, this time A-Town down, but it gets reversed into a Hurt Lock, Lashley slipping out the back, applying the submission hold, and Theory taps clean, and Bobby Lashley is the new United States champion. I certainly didn't expect a clean loss for the man they've been building up as like the future of the WWE, the new John Cena and all that sort of thing. I was maybe expecting a sneaky heelish win for Theory, or even a DQ loss where he doesn't lose the belt, but no, Bobby Lashley is the new champ. The next match is the Raw Women's title match, with Bianca Belair defending against Carmella. Remember, this was supposed to originally be Rhea Ripley's title shot, with Carmella stepping in as a last-minute replacement. This match has a bad-tempered start with a lot of shoving and trash talk between the two. Carmella charges Bianca in the corner, but the champion flips out of danger, nimbly landing on her feet. Carmella then decides to slow the pace down, trying to grind Bianca down with submission attempts and yanking the hair to regain the advantage at times, but Belair fights back with a big deadlift vertical suplex, always very impressive. Carmella goes for a sneaky roll-up with the feet on the ropes, but it only gets a 2 count, as does a super kick. Carmella gets impatient because of this and slaps Bianca, but that only makes her angry, and she scoops Carmella up, nails the KOD, and wins the match. It's quite a fairly straightforward win for the champion. Carmella attacks Bianca from behind during her celebration and beats her down, but there's no cash in from Liv Morgan or anything like that. It just seems to be a case of Carmella getting a bit of heat back and possibly a continuation of this feud. The next match is the unified tag team title match between the Usos and the Street Profits, and this one was a banger. The Usos cut a short promo beforehand saying they're in Vegas, so they're going to put all their chips on the bloodline and everything, but the Profits come out to a huge reception, entering, as they tend to do sometimes, through the crowd. The challengers take it to Jimmy Uso early on, and Ford goes for the big frog splash, but Jimmy rolls out of the way. Ford hypes up the crowd and tells the Usos to suck it, which is the first of many crotch chops, like many crotch chops in this match, from both teams going back and forth. It's like they had a bet beforehand on who could do the most. Jimmy puts the Usos in control with a dive to Dawkins on the outside, and then both Usos vertical suplex him into the ring post. Dawkins plays face in peril for a while until he gets the hot tag to Ford. Well, it seems like a hot tag, but Ford leaps off the top straight into a mid-air super kick for a near fall. Now Ford is the face in peril and has nobody to tag out to when Dawkins gets taken off the apron with a cheap super kick. But Ford eventually hits a suplex on the apron and tags in Dawkins, who flies with a huge dive to the outside. He runs wild for a bit and then flattens both Usos, charging around the ring and nailing a huge tackle. Back in the ring, there's also a very nice double team move from the Profits, with Dawkins tackling Jimmy Uso into kind of a mid-air back suplex from Montez Ford, but again, it only gets a near fall. The Street Profits hit their big assisted blockbuster, but Jey Uso kicks out to the disbelief of the crowd. This was a great near fall. They go for it again, but Jimmy blind tags himself in and the Street Profits get confused. The Usos hit a double super kick to Ford, but then he kicks out to a big reception. Montez hits his huge dive over the corner of the ring onto both Usos on the outside, then back in the ring hits his huge frog splash on Jey, but Jimmy just breaks it up at the last second. The two teams have a big standoff and a brawl to the delight of the crowd. They've really given their all in this match, all four men. Dawkins gets sent into the timekeeper's area on the outside, and the Usos nail an isolated Ford with a double super kick, then hit the 3D, and the champions retain the belts. This was an awesome match, and we could see it be the start of an excellent series between the two teams, or at least one rematch, because afterwards the replays show that Ford's shoulder was pulled off the canvas by Jimmy Uso during the final pinfall. The Street Profits complain about this in the ring, and yeah, it seems as though the wheels are in motion for a big rematch, and I'm certainly not complaining. Next, we get a weird, spooky-themed video package, but it's not actually clear who it's meant to be for, so let me know who you think in the comments below. I'm actually not certain. All of Twitter seemed to assume it was The Fiend or Bray Wyatt, but it's really not clear, so let me know what you think. The next match is the SmackDown Women's title match between Ronda Rousey and Natalya. During her entrance, Natalya gives her sunglasses to a child in the crowd, but she's the heel. I don't know. I guess that the Hart family always tend to think that they're the faces even when they are playing the heels, so it kind of works. There's lots of grappling to start in this one and an ankle lock from Natalya early on, but then Ronda counters into an ankle lock of her own. Natalya, though, makes the ropes and takes control of the match for a while until Ronda almost gets her in an armbar, but Natalya slips out. Ronda fires up, though, and goes for Piper's Pit, but Natalya escapes out the back and goes for an armbar of her own. Ronda reverses it and locks in Natalya's signature sharpshooter, but eventually, after a bit of a struggle, Natalya makes the ropes. They exchange big slaps, and Ronda is furious. She goes for the armbar, but Natalya flips her out of the ring, and upon landing on the outside, Ronda sells the knee. Natalya realizes this and targets it straight away with a sharpshooter on the apron. That's the hardest part of the ring. Ronda rolls forward, sending Natalya into the ring post and takes control of the match once again. She attempts the armbar in the ring, but it gets turned into a sharpshooter from Natalya, but that gets turned into an ankle lock from Ronda, but that gets turned into the sharpshooter again from Natalya, but before she can turn over, Ronda counters it once more into an armbar, and Natalya taps out. That's it, Ronda Rousey has retained the SmackDown Women's Championship. Or is it? Because as Ronda celebrates, Liv Morgan's music hits and she's cashing in. It looks bad straight away for Liv, I'm not going to lie. Ronda gets an ankle lock straight away and it looks like Liv's going to tap. On commentary, they've been hyping up the 100% success rate of women's Money in the Bank briefcase holders, and I thought, oh my god, they're going to have Liv look like a fool here. But just when it looks like she's about to tap out, Liv kicks Ronda away, rolls her up, and gets the 3 count. Liv Morgan is the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Ronda very sportingly presents Liv with the belt, they hug it out, and Ronda leaves, walking up the ramp, slapping hands with the fans. She didn't turn heel, even though she probably had every right to be frustrated, to be honest. But Liv is the new champion. The crowd are buzzing about this, chanting, "You deserve it." And honestly, I think she probably does. And finally, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match with Riddle versus Seth Rollins versus Omos versus Sami Zayn versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre versus the late addition Madcap Moss. But with all the competitors in the ring, they're interrupted by Adam Pearce, who says he's going to add someone to the match. And it's the man who lost his United States title earlier in the night. It's Theory. Omos takes everybody out at the start. Rollins and Theory charge into him with a ladder and just bounce off him. Omos continues to dominate everybody pretty much, apart from Sami Zayn, who's hiding adorably behind one of the ring posts. Drew takes control, claymoring Omos out of the ring and climbs the ladder, but Sheamus stops him and they both brawl. As they're doing so, Theory sneaks up the ladder behind them, but they catch him and beat him down. Sheamus goes for the chest beats over the top rope, but Drew steals it from him. And one of the themes of this match will be Drew and Sheamus getting in each other's way a lot of times. A little bit later on, Omos is on his own in the ring once again, but Drew McIntyre and Moss take him to the outside where everybody buries him on the ramp in a pile of ladders. At one stage, Sami Zayn climbs, but Moss powerbombs him off the ladder onto a smaller one wedged in one of the corners. It looks like a nasty bump. He may have caught the back of his head. Riddle builds up a head of steam and takes everybody out with a big floating bro from the very top of a big ladder. Well, he takes out almost everybody, apart from Omos, who's back on the scene and clears the ring, but then he gets hit with a bunch of different signature moves from everybody, culminating in a stomp from Rollins on the apron. From there, Seth orchestrates everybody into teaming up with a huge group powerbomb, sending Omos through the announce table. After that, everybody decides, right, we're going to fight each other again, and they brawl on the outside, apart from Sami, who sneaks back into the ring and climbs, but Drew McIntyre stops him. Sheamus tries to stop Drew, but Drew traps Sheamus under a ladder and climbs above him, but then Butch interferes in the match and sleeper holds Drew while he's on the ladder, which drops him down to the canvas, and he takes a bro kick from Sheamus. Sheamus now gives Drew a taste of his own medicine, trapping him under the ladder, and Sheamus climbs towards victory, but Drew, in quite a unique spot, I think we may have seen it once or twice, but it's always very exciting, Drew from his back presses the ladder upwards and topples Sheamus off. Actually, I don't know if we ever have seen that before. Let me know in the comments below if you can remember anybody doing that before. But anyway, Drew builds up a head of steam, a Claymore takes out Butch, and he and Sheamus climb on opposite sides of a ladder, but Sami Zayn pushes them both off and has it won. Or does he? Because Madcap Moss stops him and knocks Sami down. And Madcap Moss has it won. Or does he? Because Seth Rollins stops him and hits the stomp. And now Seth Rollins has it won. Or does he? That's because Riddle stops Seth, climbing a bigger ladder next to the one Seth's on, and hits a huge RKO from near the top, all the way down to the canvas below. Riddle gets shakily back to his feet, and he's got the match won, guys, but he is stopped by Theory, who shoves him down, and Theory has it won. And he actually does have it won, and he wins. Theory wins the match, is what I'm saying. Theory retrieves the briefcase and takes a selfie with it atop the ladder. And yes, the man put into the match at the very last second by Adam Pearce has won the Money in the Bank briefcase, losing his title earlier in the night, but walking away with arguably a bigger prize. And that's how the show goes off the air. That is the end of Money in the Bank 2022. What did you think of the show? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions and your favorite match of the night. Mine was probably the tag match in the comments section down below. And thanks very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic. Look out for all of our reactions to this show and WTF moments and that sort of thing in the coming days on this very channel. Thanks very much once again. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you very soon.